Hello motivators, I have a question for you today. Are you a slave to stress? Are you always stressed out? Are you always feeling the weight of the problem or the issue? You're always feeling knotted up by the circumstance? If so, I have some news for you that'll help liberate you from the shackle of the master called stress. Watch this. Hello motivators, Timothy McCain here, and today I want to give you a very brief video about handling stress, because maybe you have found yourself being a slave to stress. Let me tell you, it's not easy being at the whipping post of the master called stress. I call it keeping you in bondage and keeping you enslaved, calling you to wear the workload of your life. Listen, stress happens to all of us. It reigns with the just and the unjust. Life is hard. However, just because stress is around doesn't mean you have to be stressed out. So I need to shine some light in some areas, because maybe you are a slave to stress. Maybe you find yourself handling situations that's not healthy and because you have been stressed out. So I'm going to give you 3 red flags. I also want to give you 3 solutions. All right, how to handle stress. So maybe you find yourself, again, you're a slave to stress. You've been in bondage, the whipping post of the master called stress, and you've been trying to get to the line of scrimmage to find your freedom, but every single time you feel like you get a foot over, you get drawn right back to the reality of life. Well, I want to give you three red flags you get some attention to. First and foremost, are your problems, this is number 1, are your problems the first thing you think about when you wake up and the last thing you think about when you go to sleep? Think about that. Is all the real estate of your mind taken by your issues? The real estate of your mind being engulfed by your circumstances, your problems? Is every update, every Facebook status, every phone call, talking, rehearsing about what is not going right? Let me tell you, because family, you are whatever you magnify, you manifest. You give life into that. It becomes who you are. You wear your situation like a garment, and you may wear it with pride, or you identify yourself in the state of that crisis, never finding healing, never finding hope, never finding a way out, because you say, this is who I am, and you have owned it. Let me tell you what I'm not saying. I'm not saying act like it's not happening. I'm not saying act like it's not there. Listen, if I put an electric bill back in the mailbox and act like I hadn't received it, eventually my lights will get shut off, and I'm sitting in a house with darkness because I thought the situation will be answered by ignoring it. But no, it doesn't. Situations aren't ignored with time. Situations aren't fixed with time. They're fixed with attention. And so, but if these things have engulfed your mind, if this has if it's robbed you of your peace, of your joy, family, you got to change your thought life. So here's tip number 1 to be alleviated and freed from the bondage of stress. Change your thought life. Change your confession of tongue. Change how you speak. It is so powerful that when you make up in your mind to speak life, and rather than death, to talk about the solutions rather than just the problems, when you learn to see life of the glass is half full instead of always thinking about the glass is half empty, when you learn how to find a little bit of faith in your life, it's amazing how it can shift so many things. Because again, whatever you magnify, you manifest. It becomes who you are. It becomes a center of your attention. And again, so I firmly believe, if you want to change the weight of the stress, change your thought life. Philippians says, whatever is trustworthy, whatever is noble, whatever is truthful, and it lists a bunch of great things. And the last part of that verse says, think about such things. And I think that's what you need to do. So red flag number 1 was, this is the first thing you think about and the last thing you go to sleep. The tip to find that place of freedom was change your thought life. Change your thought life. Here we go. Moving on. Because y'all believe by the end of this video, you're going to be encouraged and you're going to walk since being stress-free. Tip number 2. How do you handle stress? Red flag number 2. Sorry. How do you handle stress? Do you smoke? Do you drink? Do you gamble it away? Do you sleep around? Do you eat your problems away? See, if these are the ways you handle stress, it should be a red flag, because you're not handling it, you're covering it up. You're not trying to cope, you're not dealing with it, you're coping with it. You're not conquering it, you're just going to get through the day. And that's not the way, I firmly believe, not the way that it should be handled. Maybe you smoke. Let's say you a stressful day happened to work, and the first thing you think about is, oh man, where's my cigarettes? Or I need my cigarettes. Or I need my cigarettes. Or maybe I can't deal with this no more. Where's some drink? Let me drink it away. But the problem is, when the cigarette is over and the blunt is burnt out, the problem is still there. When the bottle is empty and the buzz is over and the hangover is that you've just received, the problem is still there. When the ice cream is empty and you gorge yourself with food, or you made yourself throw up, the problem is still there. So these behaviors of learning how to cope may give you a sensation of a release of dopamine that the situation's not there, but actually it's just ignoring the electric bill in the mailbox. Eventually, family will rob you. So how can you find what's the solution to this reality of being freed from this reality? Is stop giving attention to the symptoms and start giving attention to the roots. I strongly encourage that you find healthy voices and healthy people to talk to. That whether it's a counselor, whether it's a psychologist, whether it's a pastor, whatever it may be, not yes people, but people who have experience and have an ear that will be there for you. You could talk the situation out, that there may be a root to all of this, rather than just trying to cover the symptoms away, right? And so talk to people. Talk, not just talking to Facebook, because they'll hype you up. Oh, girl, no, he didn't. Blah, blah, blah. No. Find a solution. Find a counselor. Find a counselor. Find a counselor. Find a pastor. Find a physician. Find a teacher. Find somebody, a trusted voice that will be there for you, to help give you attention to the roots of your situation. Lastly, this is big. How do you know that you're a slave to stress? Do you yell all the time? Are you short-tempered? Do you take things out on your family? Do you have a short fuse? When you go home from work, are you angry, yelling at your kid? There's a psychology term called psychological displacement and psychological disposition. And these words, I believe, these things, I believe, happens every single day. You say you go home and you're at work and you get yelled at by your boss and you get all upset, and so you get home and you speed in the car. You take your anger out in the car and you get home, you kick the cat. Your kid asks you a question, you yell at the kid, and the kid didn't do anything. You're simply displacing or repositioning the stress and using people around you as collateral damage. And eventually you keep doing this. When the kids get old, they want nothing to do with you because you treated them like your punching bag. You treated your own children like your whipping post, or even vice versa. You have a hard day at school, you go home, you yell at your mom, you yell at your dad, and you treating them in such a toxic behavior. That's not fair, nor is that healthy. But maybe some of you, you've grown up in this reality. It's became the very norm. So how can you get out of this red flag that I'm mentioning today? Family, find an outlet. Find an outlet. When you get home from work, and maybe there's something that you can do on a daily, maybe something you do every week, or maybe something you do every month, something that you can do that'll help you to alleviate stress. Maybe it's working out. Working out is incredible. Maybe it's going to the gym, hitting the punching bag. Maybe it's cooking. Maybe it's painting. Maybe it's listening to music. Not music that's gonna enhance the feeling, but music that can help ease you out of it. You know what I'm saying? And so there's turbo engines. It has this big, great winding sound. It's a bunch of power inside of this turbo. But then there's just something called a release valve. You'll hear it winding and winding and winding and winding and winding. And all of a sudden you'll hear a psst. I believe all of us need to have that that moment of release, because all this pressure will be built up, and if there's no release valve, things will explode, things will blow up, things will stop working, and there will be internal damage and external damage, all because it didn't have a place of release. Do you have a release valve? What are you doing for yourself? What are you doing to find peace? Because let me tell you why number 3 will not work if number 1 is still there. Why a place of release will never happen if you're always thinking about your problem and situation, because you will tell yourself you don't have time to find a hobby. You'll tell yourself you don't have time to find something to do for yourself, because all you're doing is rehearsing and think about your problem. Listen, you will never find time. You must make time. And I encourage you to make time for yourself so you can free yourself from the captivity of slavery. Today, this video is meant to be your emancipation of proclamation. It's time that you find yourself being freed from the bondages and the whips of stress. Stop being stressed out. Because sometimes you may not want to hear this. Sometimes it's a choice. And maybe you have made this choice so long, it became your identity. And you have anchored yourself in a state of crisis. But I believe with these three steps, you can start a place of freedom. Start talking about your problems, family. So give attention to the reality of how you treat people, how you're treating yourself, and find a place of release. Motivators, my heart is this channel be an oasis of hope in a desert of hopelessness. And I know stress happens to everybody of us, every single one of us. No matter how young or how old you are, stress is available. Because why? Life can be stressful, but it does not mean you have to own the stress. And doesn't mean you have to take the stress of work to home with you. Make sure you give attention to this. Evaluate your life and learn how to be stress-free. Do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. I believe this channel is going to be a place of motivation, an oasis of hope in a desert of hopelessness, a place where you can be encouraged through the duration of your life, knowing that there's a place here at this channel that you can find a place of peace and a moment of encouragement. Do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe, and let's change the world together. It's time for you to be stress-free.